Cooper, Peter Eckel, Budget Advisory Committee.
Laura Cooper, Budget Advisory Committee.
Nick Palmer, Budget Analyst. Kevin England, Director of Finance.
James Horan, Budget Advisory Committee.
Christine Underhill, Parks Rec Library Golf Director.
Andrina Prado, Deputy City Clerk.
Stephanie Carlisle, City Clerk.
Tina Prang, City Council Liaison.
And those online.
Jenny Nolan, Budget Manager.
And I think that's it. Okay, any public comment? Okay, I don't hear any. Motion to approve the minutes from January 15th.
I'll
Anybody
move.
make a motion? Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we'll start with new business, which would be the city clerk's office and/or Parks and Recs, whoever wants to go first.
Hi. Well, thank you for having us tonight. Ours is very brief, pretty simple, but we'll walk you through just a little bit about who we are, some of our accomplishments, and where we're at. So I guess we'll start with the estimated funds that were returned to the fund balance. So we did pretty well this year. We did have some salary savings, staffing vacancies, which created a little bit of, we returned some money there. And then contractual, so our election invoice came back much lower than what we had budgeted. And then we had fewer licensing hearings, so we didn't have many new applications for liquor or marijuana licensing. And so we didn't do as many. So we actually lost a few liquor licenses. And then this, for whatever reason, last year we didn't get a lot of new ones in, which always require a public hearing as well. So that's kind of where we identified most of the money kind of came back that went back. But as a whole, we did pretty well. Some of our major accomplishments in 2025, we processed over 300 core requests, very busy year for us. We did implement a digital voting system for the council chambers. However, halfway into it, recognized that that program's no longer being supported and it had a lot of flaws. So we're a little bit back to the drawing board. And so one of our big goals for this year will be to find a whole new agenda management system that would have digital voting. We had a citizens initiative, so we were very busy over the summer, verified over 1,500 signatures. So that's something you just never know if it's coming, and it came, and that's, kind of was a big accomplishment for us. We did have our usual general municipal election. We had 7 candidates this year, and then we did have the initiated ballot measure. The biggest thing that was different about this election is we had a lot of FCPA complaints. So that's campaign finance complaints. That is a very big process for us to kind of walk through when we do get a complaint about campaign finance filed. So we had 10 of those this year during the election season. We did create a communication channel for all boards and commissions, staff liaisons, board administrators. We digitized and uploaded over 81,000 records into Laserfiche, which is our records repository. And then we have started the process in collaboration with the city attorney's office to start the review of election procedures. It's never a good idea to do that during elections. And so we started it and had to pause, and you don't want to change any rules or make any suggestions or revisions when you're in the middle of something. So between the initiative and then the municipal election, we kind of paused that. So we are reconvening with the election commission next week to kind of start looking at some potential code changes that would kind of streamline petitioning. Right now we've got different procedures for every single different election procedure that happens. So we're trying to streamline a little bit of that. But we did start the process. It just got stalled out a little bit. Several of us had professional development, certifications, achievements, completions. We have processed over 100 liquor and marijuana licensing renewals. And then we generated $127,000 in revenue for our passport services program, which we're really, really proud of, even with staffing vacancies, which is our biggest reason of why we can or cannot process passport applications, we were just a couple $1,000s short of hitting our projected amount for that year. Yep, so we just had some staffing vacancies, which limited opportunities to do all the passport appointments that we could have. But again, we still got close to hitting the mark. And then we just had a very volatile 2025 election, and primarily that circled kind of around the campaign finance complaints. It just got a little bit ugly, a lot of pressure, and I think that just makes everybody uncomfortable. I think it makes the staff or the citizens uncomfortable. You want to make sure that everything is transparent and open, and so that was what I would have considered some of our challenges for the year. We do not have any capital projects, so.
Are there any capital projects that you would foresee in the future?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I have a few questions from your presentation there. So you said when you got the elections invoice back, it was lower than you'd expected.
Yes.
Is that from Arapahoe County?
Yes.
Is that who's invoicing you?
Yes, and they, that's the hard part about when we do our budgeting for elections, is because it's all weighted based on population, how many jurisdictions participate in the election through Arapahoe County, how many state measures there are that kind of absorb costs or get divvied out, how many, county questions there are. And it's a magic formula that you just don't usually have on the front end. And so we have always, kind of maintained like a $40,000 budget for elections. I would say consistently over time, it's not been that. So this is the first year that we've backed that way down. I think we did 25, and here we are, we're running a special election, and we're gonna have to come back for a supplemental. But again, it's just, you just never know how much to budget for elections. You don't know if there's gonna be, for instance, a special election that hits, but I think we're gonna try to just estimate and then go with a supplemental if needed.
And also related to elections, you commented on the number of campaign finance complaints you received. Are those handled entirely by your office or with the city attorney or with the Secretary of State's involvement?
That's a great question. It used to be handled completely by the Secretary of State's office. It is very intricate, very complicated. And a few years ago, the Secretary of State's office said that they will no longer handle any municipal complaints and that would be handled through the municipal clerk's office. So several years ago, or 3 years ago, we created a code, put a process in our code for how to handle those complaints, which was required. And then this is the first election where we've really had multiple requests come in. And so it was just, it's a big procedure when it happens. We're not fully experts in that realm. Like I said, it's very complicated. So we did have assistance with the city attorney's office, but that was primarily handled through the city clerk's office.
And then thank you. One more question on a completely different topic, and then I'll be quiet for my fellow committee members here. I ran through my 3 questions. But related to the liquor licenses, you said you saw some were lost and there was a drop in the number of new applications.
Yes.
Are you attributing that to what I'm seeing in media coverage about kind of the effects of changes in retail sales of alcohol finally kind of impacting some of the smaller liquor stores? Is that, do you think that's related?
I would say that is very valid. Some are restaurants that a lot of times we will do like a transfer of ownership, but for whatever reason this year, it was just a complete closure. There wasn't like the transfer to a new owner. And then, with Safeway going out, that type of thing. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Anything else, anybody?
What is the status of the 10 complaints, and in terms of workload for your department? Is that something that some of them can get dismissed, or they all get escalated? How long do they take to resolve?
So it's a long process in the code. The initial review we have 10 days to identify if there is a true violation that falls under the Campaign Finance Act. And then that would be where we can, if it's not valid, we can dismiss it. If it's something that can be fixed, we allow a cure period where then they can go out and cure that. Or if it's something that can't be cured, we would refer that to a hearing officer. So that's kind of generally speaking what the process is. But yes, getting multiple in really, it was a lot for our office, just workload wise.
How many records do we have left to?
We still, we're making fantastic progress, but we still have a long ways to go. There are a few departments that we haven't even started with, but I think that probably 6 or 7 departments we're wrapping up. So I'm thinking 2026 will be a big year for us, and then I think it'll be a lot of just kind of cleanup after that.
So it's department by department.
And we do it department by department, yes.
And then I saw election procedures. Are we in complete control of those, or is that partly Arapahoe County, or is it all Arapahoe County, or?
So
Some
the way
state,
that
I
we're
guess,
balancing
too,
that is based on our charter and our provisions in our charter, our code, and then any state law, election laws. So you kind of have to balance them all out, what's in charter, what's in code, what's state law, and then kind of bring that all back together. So, and we're kind of bound on some charter things. So things that might streamline it, we're not really going to be able to do. So it's like the dance of like how to bring current election laws and our charter and code all into like a streamlined process if possible. And we just want to make it easy for constituents to see what are the election procedures. I mean, if I want to file for a recall, what is the procedure and how does that work? And then on the clerk's side, just to have it be consistent. So it's not a different procedure if possible. But again, our charter sort of sticks us in a couple spots that we can't really change too much on.
What would it require to maybe take some of the gray area out of the charter?
A vote of the people. So that would be a deep dive, maybe put a charter amendment on the ballot so that the voters could decide that. That is the only way you can change charter is a vote of the people.
And staffing vacancies are primarily due to what force?
So, yeah.
I mean, it varies. For passports, we do have 3 positions where it is part-time positions that alternate doing both passports and covering our hub, which is our front desk. The thing we run into is just with part-time roles, people either come in for a part-time role and then decide to look for something full-time. It's something that we're hoping that if we have someone come into it, it's at least for like 2 to 3 years. But we currently have 2 people right now that have been pretty steady in that part-time role, and we are bringing in someone hopefully starting Monday to help with passports. We also have 2 full-timers that help with passports when it allows in their schedule.
I know it's been a very popular
Yes.
in our city, and I tell people about it.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you.
We have people that come from all over to do passports, and we have people that call all the time and say, do we have to live in Inglewood to get a passport in Inglewood? And it's, no, you can get a passport from any location that offers them.
That's great.
And we open those appointments every 30 days, like only a month at a time. And like within a week, every single spot is full.
Yeah.
So it's been great.
Okay, I think we'll move to Parks and Recs. Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you. Yeah, have a great night. Stay cool.
It's
a little warm in here.
It's very hot. Very hot, yeah.
Woo! I should have worn a blouse instead.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Christine Underhill. I'm the Director of Parks, Rec, Library, and Golf. Our budget for Parks, Rec, and Library Golf is an enterprise fund. This is the budget from 2025. We did go over on a few items. The first one's personnel. We did have a budget saving challenge applied to our budget overall, and it was $273,000. And ultimately, so we started in the negative, and ultimately, I will say that we had a very successful season last year. Farm and Train, Pirates Cove was open every single day.
We did close early a couple times for lightning reasons, but ultimately we brought in over $300,000 in revenue throughout the year too, which was about 150 over what we projected. So ultimately we spent more because we had to have the people at the places for the programs. Our summer camp registration was up, so we had to hire a few more people for that. So that's why we went over in that one. And the rest was kind of smaller items. We had a contract with Bridge House that is run out of our Parks Department for individuals who are at Bridge House down the road here to come help our parks out and do some different cleanups in areas. And that's a contract we have with them. So in the contractual, we went over just a little bit with that. In our capital, we did fairly well. We did go over a little bit. We had to get 3 new boilers, one at Rec Center, 2 at Pirates Cove. New fitness equipment was placed at Malley, and so we installed some new things that were going out and needed to be replaced. So we have new items there, so 1,500 is not too bad. So ultimately, like I said, the budget savings challenge was 273,000, and we did bring in 300,000 in revenue. So while we did go over in budget, I think we have a decent justification as to why. And then for golf. Golf also went over some a bit, but we had a really great golf season. In fact, we're still having a great golf season with the weather, as strange as it is. So what you see here is the 241,000 over. We actually, on revenue side, broke records with bringing in $4 million, which was the most we've ever brought in for Broken Tee. It reflected the amount of rounds played. We were doing quite a bit of coursework out there and utilizing internal staff for that, whether it be part-time, seasonal, or full-time staff. On the commodity side, because the weather was what it was, we obviously had to purchase more fertilizer and different soil amendments to keep the grass green while the golfers were out there regularly playing on the course. On the contractual side, we did some major improvements. We replaced the very old aging pump station on the front 6. If you've ever played out there, the first and the par 3 are on the east side of the river. And so we had to replace that pump station, which was aging out. In fact, we weren't sure if we'd make it through the season with that. And if you lose that, you lose all your water. And so that's what we installed. Also, we got new carts. And we also had some electrical work done at the clubhouse. And we worked on the Better Broken Tee action plan. So that's defining all the work we're going to have to do over the next 5 to 10 years based off of revenue. So like I said, we brought in $4 million in revenue. We covered our costs, but we did go over in budget.
And that's gross revenue for me.
So that's the golf side. And then for accomplishments, we did finish Bates Logan Park. That took about 3 years to do, but that was also part of a grant program with Arapahoe County Open Space. We did 3 grants with them to cover the cost of that park, in addition to matching funds that we had from Arapahoe County Open Space Fund. So
what was the total on those? Because we're familiar with that one.
It was just around $3 million total for the whole park, and that was underground all the way up. So new irrigation, everything is new at that park now.
And the Arapahoe Fund gave us how much?
It was 6, 6, and 5. So what is that? 1.7 million dollars, and then we had matching that got us to 3 to do that. So that's a very popular park. So we're very happy we invested in it and made it nice. Also, for this year, last year we received a $600,000 grant for Centennial Park, and we'll be doing some cool improvements there. I'll talk about that at the end here with our capital items. Emerald ash borer is in this area, so if you have ash trees, we have a grant program that you can get your ash tree treated. If it's a healthy tree, if it needs to be removed, if it has emerald ash borer in it, there's companies out there that will come out and remove it, and so we are helping residents with that. In addition, we're also treating all the public trees. So any tree ash in our parks, at our golf course, we are treating those so we can save at least our park canopy with the treatments, and our staff do that internally with the treatments, and it's every 2 years. And then we did some renovations at the rec center. If you're familiar with the Parks and Recreation bond, we're also doing some major improvements at the recreation center. But after COVID, we were realizing we need to do some upgrades to help the front desk area function better. And so that was completed last year. We had a great Learn to Swim program with over 2,300 people coming through that, whether it be children or adults. Over 40 special events were held, along with our event team brought in $110,000 in sponsorships from the community. The Volunteers of America lunch programs offered at Malley Recreation Center, so 55 plus center, and that increased by 11%, which we were happy to see. We saw a massive decrease after COVID and then the years following, but it's starting to tick back up. We did complete Cushing Park as our first park done as part of the parks, the Renew and Recreate Bond program. And we have more going out this year. We'll be going under construction with Pirates Cove, the Inglewood Recreation Center, Northwest Greenbelt, and Rotolo Park. Emerson's currently under construction now. We anticipate that'll be reopened by June. So a lot of movement with that. 78% of available rounds, so 82,000 rounds were played at Broken T, hence why we had to get more soil amendments and take care of our grass. And so that was popular this last year. We're breaking records still at Farm and Train. We still believe that new train is helping us out with 95,000 visits. Plus we had baby pigs, little piglets born, and goats. So that really does attract a lot of people to that, to see them. And then our library summer reading program for children broke records as well, with over 1,000 kids registered and many completing the program, which was extreme. We ran out of prizes. We had to go back out. Hence, we went over on budget. We needed more prizes. Keep the kids motivated. So those are some of the great things we did last year, and we're on track to do some really fun stuff this year too. So challenges faced. I didn't put it on here, but I thought about it after I submitted, was the increased need for staffing, because everything was running very well last year. And so that was a challenge of just having more staff. So obviously the budget went over on staffing. We have aging infrastructure. We are addressing a lot of that through the bonds. Stormwater requirements for the bond projects. We're working closely with our utilities department to ensure we're meeting all those requirements and not causing future issues with stormwater. Also, higher use of demand on our parks and facilities. Our parks have been busy. We're watching Bates Logan carefully because, I mean, that park should last a while, but it's heavily used. So we're making sure we're doing the proper maintenance on it to keep it up and so it doesn't wear out faster than it should. And then we've had a lot of vandalism and just misuse of our park areas. Our restrooms get hit really hard with vandalism, whether it's spray paint or people putting things down the toilet or breaking our sinks and toilets and knocking the hinges off our doors, you name it, it's happened. And so it's something our parks team is addressing weekly throughout our park system. So those are some of the challenges. And then these are our top 3 capital projects. We have a lot of capital going on this year with the bond projects. And I mentioned those. Centennial Parks grant, that $600,000 grant, in addition to matching funds from our open space capital, we're getting new docks put in at Centennial, fishing docks. The ones we have out there, one keeps just drifting away and it can't be fixed. And so we're getting, I think we've already taken that out. But these are ADA friendly docks. People can get out there no matter what their ability. We have a story walk going in, so you can walk around the lake out there and read a storybook, and we'll have it in both English and Spanish. And then we're also doing solar lighting around the path at the lake and like mile markers on it's less than a mile, but we're gonna mark it around the lake so people know how far they've gone. And then the last one here is Little Dry Creek Plaza renovation. This is in partnership with the EDDA, the Inglewood Downtown District Authority. They're splitting the cost of the renovations for Little Dry Creek with us. So we have $600,000 from the city being contributed this year, in addition to they're also putting in about $600,000 into the project as well. So we're looking at, once the project wraps up, we have another $500,000 requested for next year, and so does EDDA. We're looking at like a $2.5 million project overall for the renovation, but EDDA, and we agree with this, it's a gateway into the city. People coming down Santa Fe, it's very visible. Coming through the Broadway corridor, it's visible, and we want to make it a destination. EDDA has done a good job of bringing events to this area to just bring attention, and so we anticipate those events will increase once the renovations are complete.
This Little Dry Creek Plaza, where is this exactly?
That's right off of Broadway
Oh,
in Hampton.
Between the two. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it kind of over there where the creek goes under the parking lot?
Yes, that's exactly where it is.
Okay, right by the Denny's there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which has a lot of history behind it.
It does, yeah, and it's unfortunately kind of just, we haven't had money to maintain it over the years, and it was doing very well when Cinderella City was booming, and it was really a destination. I think it was on Time Magazine at one point, but it's just become somewhat of a blight area, and with all the work that EDDA is doing in the city to improve Broadway, this is definitely a nice little hub that we'd like to get people out and actually there enjoying the area.
Well, I think part of the issue is also safety, because I think
It
a
is.
lot of people don't want to go there.
Yeah, the hope is, like parks, you renovate something to be nice and now it's a destination. And the more people that start utilizing it, a lot of times the bad leaves and the good comes. And we've seen that many cases in different cities. We've seen it here in Inglewood. Baker Park's a great example of that. It's getting a lot of use with a new playground and from a couple of years ago. So I really do believe that if we do renovate it, it'll actually encourage positive use.
Are there any plans to make investments in other parts of that green belt, you know, going up toward the high school? Because that's a little tired as well, I'm sure.
It is, yeah, not at this time, but it's on the list. I mean, the minute we finish one renovation, we put it back on the list to start looking at 10, 15, 20 years down the road, depending on what the renovation was at the time. So definitely it's on the list to be looked at, and it's something we've dedicated a park staff member to that area in addition to Bridge House. And so we've had a lot more eyes in the space and a lot more maintenance being done regularly.
It's a nice area, and I like the green grass and the river going through there,
Yeah.
but it's just the activity.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah, we
shady.
hear that often, and PD's done a great job of, they have cameras on the Chase building, they watch that area. In fact, I was out there with Hillary Patel, and all of a sudden cop cars pull up and they arrest a guy that was like 5 feet from us. I was like, oh, that's not good. But
Did you see him prior to that?
well, we did see him. He was like sitting on a bench, but I was like, that just shows the positive enforcement, you know, of they could see who it was and he was wanted for whatever, I don't know. But a lot more patrol down there, a lot more eyes on it. Sakoon, the restaurant, unfortunately closed, but we actually did see some positive movement with that going in. So I know there's work to try to get somebody else in there quickly. Because that was part of the blight too, was just when you have empty storefronts like we see out here, you just unfortunately attract the wrong crowds, so.
Is the EDDA extend to the Sakoon
Yes,
area?
yeah, that's part of their area.
I know at one point in time, council received an email about some of kind of the Native American history within Inglewood, and there was a individual that was interested in donating totem poles to that particular area.
That's correct. The totem poles were not Native American.
Okay.
They were just created by two individuals. We did research that, and
Okay.
we did find out that that wasn't gonna be, they weren't legit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
for
the-
researching that.
Yeah.
The tribal groups that inhabited this area traditionally did not use totem poles. That's a Pacific Northwestern thing. Sorry, I'm an anthropeak.
Yeah. I just know that we had received, I'm
We
glad
did.
you guys looked into that. And
We
asked those
did, yeah.
questions. I had one question on the overage in contracts, maybe it was, for Bridge House,
Yes.
or related to Bridge House. Is that because we have staff that kind of work side by side with individuals that are wanting to work through the program at Bridge House?
It wasn't necessarily, so they have a supervisor. It's two individuals from Bridge House and then a supervisor. And they work with our park staff. Sometimes our park staff are with them doing the same projects. But a lot of times it may just be that supervisor and the two individuals working on our bus stops or down at the plaza, Little Dry Creek, picking up trash, whatever it may be. They also help us out at Pirates Cove during the summer months, making sure trash is picked up outside the facility. And so we had not budgeted for the Bridge House contract, so that's part of it. But we were able to absorb most of it into our contractual side in parks.
And we'll make sure that we're asking for a sufficient amount for that moving forward, knowing that, I mean, it seems like Bridge House is really standing up.
They
now,
are,
so.
and we're happy to be working with them and have the contract, and we have it going this year too. So we'll keep doing it until something changes, but it is a nice partnership.
I'm curious on the math behind or the metric and decision-making between something being a free public good and then something being a paid amenity. So you've got the farm, Pirates Cove, and some others.
Yep.
Like, those aren't fully self-sustained, or are they?
It's very close. So the question has come up since I've been here, I'm sure before that, why isn't Pirates Cove an enterprise? It's because if we have a downturn year, we can't support that park. You know, if we had a really rainy season like we did a couple years ago, we were in trouble with revenue. We did not meet revenue because we weren't open. And granted, we don't pay staff, but we didn't meet the revenue. And so Farm and Train, what we charge helps pay for the staff there, along with all the different commodities we need, the animal food, and the animals are all donated, so we don't buy them. They come from other farms and get returned. As far as free, a lot of our events are free, and that's why we seek sponsorships for that. And so, yeah, we do look at what options do we have, where can we offer free. We've been trying to offer free swim lessons, and we have a good partnership with the school. I think we're going to be able to do something with them, either free or very discounted swim lessons, to get all 3rd and 4th graders in this year, in addition to our summer camps. I mean, granted, they pay for the camp, but we also get them into the lessons and don't charge them anything extra for that. So,
is there an allocated certain percentage of occupancy that are free admissions?
So yes and no. We work with a handful of nonprofits where we give a very deep discount to them to get families and individuals into our programs, whether it be a recreation class or membership to the rec center. And so some of those like integrated family services, we work with them closely and offer a lot of programs to them at very either free or very discounted. And so, yeah, the city does subsidize somewhat some of our programming to make it so we don't have to charge the full amount for instructors. The Malley Center is a good example of this. A Pilates instructor typically charges, granted, we don't pay this much. We have challenges getting Pilates instructors. Usually it's $75 an hour for a Pilates instructor. And so if you sign up for a 4-week class, you know, and they're offering that class, it adds up quickly. And so we can't always afford that instructor, but we do subsidize it. So we're not charging our older adults extreme amounts so they can be in the class and still bring in some revenue if we're able to. But a lot is we're charging just what it costs.
Okay.
And sometimes not more.
I'm just wondering like where that line is, because I mean, obviously it's city supported.
Mm-hmm.
So then if that's the case, are we being intentional about how we're carving out to distribute free admission? So like you said, you had to buy more prizes.
Right.
Are admissions to Pirates Cove and or the farm part of the library price?
Yes. Yeah, they sure are. We give free passes to Pirates Cove, or a BOGO kind of deal, you know, where the kid gets in free, but maybe the parent has to pay, which helps boost, you know, revenue in too. And like I said, working with some of these nonprofits and the school district, we do give a lot of free tickets and coupons to those organizations to get people in. We get asked heavily, both Wall Golf does, Pirates Cove for sure. I think the school district last year, we gave over 500 free admissions into the park to their students. So, and sometimes it's more.
Do you or have you ever considered, you know, kind of a tiered system of admissions where residents would pay a different rate than non-residents?
Yeah, actually it currently stands that way. Golf is the only one that got rid of their resident, non-resident structure. It just wasn't, the amount of residents was very low. And we're looking at dynamic pricing for golf. So it's cheaper in the afternoons when nobody's there, and it's more expensive in the high times like the weekends. As far as our recreation programs, Pirates Cove, Farm and Train charges $3 across the board, but the others do have resident and non-resident, or senior rates versus, you know, non-senior rates. So we do look at that, yeah. Our residents do get a benefit. And just so you all know too, we are looking at structures for when some of these amenities reopen, like Pirates Cove and the rec center after the bond project's complete, of offering deep discounts, just get people in the door to check it out, you know, or free days where they can come and see things and have a good time, and maybe they'll down the road want a membership or encourage others to come in. So it's a balance you have to find, and it's a marketing technique that we use, and it can be challenging, and it's a little more scary for like golf in months where maybe they're not bringing in revenue or whatever. So there's a lot of moving parts.
I know there's been a lot of debate over the years about whether these should be seen as profit centers or not.
Right.
So I know there's that. So good questions.
Yeah, the hard part, parks are expensive, the library is expensive, and they don't really they bring in revenue, but not like the other areas do. And so there is a balance with cities. It's a benefit to our residents to have the parks. Put your home values up, it gives you a place to go and it's quality of life and all of that. So there's a lot of things to consider when looking at all of that.
And I think the three, Pirates Cove and the Farm and Train and golf are very unique.
Yes.
It makes it pretty cool here.
It is cool. I know. It's awesome for a city of our size to have those types of amenities that bigger cities don't have.
It's great. Now I heard they're taking out the diving board.
Oh, but we're putting something else back in.
I just like the diving board.
Do you? We actually had parents complain about that because it is something for a little person or adult to gain confidence.
Yeah, well, I've seen some adults gain some confidence over that.
Yeah, so to be more of a rock formation, you
Okay,
can jump
well,
off.
I don't know what to think about that. But,
I just have one more question. A lot of libraries, I believe Inglewood does, have a Culture Pass
Yes.
program that partners with museums and such. Has it been considered to include Pirates Cove and/or Farm and Train in that Culture Pass?
I want to say we've added Farm and Train. I'd have to check on Pirates Cove to see if we added that in. We give so many passes away for summer reading. I'm not sure if we added that in off the top of my head, but yeah, that's also, we do look at it because we do have to pay for some of the culture passes. They're not free to the city.
Right.
And so anytime we have a free opportunity that's in-house, we take advantage of it.
I think maybe it's been 2 or 3 years now, but the Farm and Train made one of the top 10 or 20
Yeah.
Metro Denver,
Oh, yeah.
which is pretty cool.
It's very cool. And I love looking at the stats of people that come to both Pirates Cove and Farm and Train. The amount of tourism that comes into our city for those two amenities is pretty awesome. I mean, we have people coming from out of country, probably not just to come to Farm and Train or Pirates Cove, but they're visiting. So, yeah.
Do you have an update on the GeoBond spending? I know we have to spend that down over a certain number of years.
Yeah, we have to spend 85% within 3 years. We're still in the earlier stages. Some of the big projects haven't hit yet, but Pirates Cove and the Rec Center are big ones. And those are gonna hit this fall into next year. And so, right now the spending's low. We do have Renew and Recreate page on our website that you can go to, and a lot of that information's in there. We do meet monthly with an oversight committee that includes both residents and staff. And during those reports, we produce the budget so you can see what's being spent, where we're at currently, and all that.
Drilling into the challenges a bit, you mentioned aging infrastructure. Are there any issues to flag that are not currently being addressed or can't be addressed within current capital priorities or the GeoBond?
Sure, there's a few smaller items that just add up. So for an example, the basketball hoops at the goals at the rec center are not coming down as easy and going back up as easy as they used to when we have other programs going in. The curtain that divides the courts isn't working as well. And so those are little items that we have on a list. It's on a replacement schedule, but we don't necessarily have the funding right now to do that. We do keep a list of everything from parks to recreation. So at the end of the GeoBond, if there is any interest monies that we could potentially spend to fix some of these other things or address areas maybe we weren't able to because of price overrides or whatever it may be, we'll go back to council and say, here's a a la carte list. What do you want to invest in? How do you want to spend the money? What do you want to do with it? So that'll be up to council to decide.
And then for some of the stormwater requirements, have any of those been surprises? I can imagine they're cumbersome, but I'm wondering if they were budgeted for, if any of those have been.
Yeah, I'll give a couple examples. Yes. The first one is Miller Field. If you are familiar with it, it's just flat ground. Well, because we're doing improvements, we actually have to retain all water that would come onto the site on property and then trickle it out to the system. There's no stormwater infrastructure right there, and so that actually could be costly to try to get to the stormwater infrastructure. Our utilities team, Peter Van Rye, is also involved, and he's looking at more of a regional approach for Miller Field since stormwater infrastructure isn't right there, and how we can address that appropriately and not use all the bond funding for Miller Field to address stormwater. The other issue is the rec center. We had wanted to add pickleball courts into the back of the rec center where an old sand volleyball court sits that's no longer used, and fix up that area. Well, we learned if you disturb over 10,000 square feet of the property, you have to retain your stormwater on site. And there was no way we could have done that. It would have cost us probably another $1 million, $2 million to actually dig a retention underneath. So we had to nix the basketball or the pickleball courts there, which is unfortunate. But we do have pickleball courts coming in at Bellevue Park, so it felt like it was a lose-win. So those are a couple examples with stormwater. Rotolo Park is another one. While we did all the stormwater improvements and have the new basins down here, we're having to look at that again because times have changed. We did all the plans last year, and now we're going to construction. And those plans are needing permits, and the permits are being held while we work through the numbers of, you know, if there is a flood event, if it overtops the weir out there, what's the numbers going down the street and all that. It's not my expertise, but we do have experts in the city. So those are a few examples of stormwater somewhat surprises that we were not expecting.
Yeah, and I think the hope of the committee is we've seen a couple items on the capital improvements project list just months after the bond was issued. And our hope was, or our challenge was, why didn't these make it in the bond? And so I hope that there's some room there at the end.
We hope so too. We did identify prior to even going out for the bond over $70 million worth of need. And so it's once we get the things of the bond, the items in the bond taken care of, then we get our list. We've been watching it and take it out and check those items off and then see what's next. Is it grant funding we need to go after? Is it additional capital from the city we need to ask for? What does that look like? And how do we address those? What's critical? What's not? You know, so yes, I agree. It's an aging city.
Yeah, we get it. It was just something we noticed.
Sure.
Anything that we should be privy to or have some focus on the capital side this year?
No, because of the bond, we're kind of just tapering back a little bit. We are working with our facilities team. Some of the items in our facilities need to be addressed, and that typically will come out of their capital for that since they oversee it. But yeah, there may be things that break down that we're not prepared to spend on. And so, like I said, that long list won't hit next year, but possibly 28, 29. We may see it. So our team's going through that now to do the projection out to, I think, 2031 to see what needs may occur.
Historically, has there ever been any major capital event that occurred where we had to go into other funding to get the money?
Well, the council in 21 agreed to renovate a few of our parks, just some basic items. So we spent about $3 million out of capital that probably wasn't necessarily planned. But there was need, Cushing Park, Baker, and Centennial Park. The Centennial Park playground was, I think, original. Quite terrifying if you had kids. Really cool if you like vintage stuff, but we had to get that replaced. So I don't know, Kevin.
Yeah, and then some of that ends up in the yearly discussion on what the city's going to spend their more than $12 million that they have available for just general capital. So yeah, that gets prioritized. Well, you guys help with that scoring. So.
And that money initially should come out of the which fund?
Public Improvement Fund has a source of funding from building use tax.
About how much?
It's about $4 million a year.
Okay.
Anything else generally comes from the general fund if they have an overage, which we have until last year.
Right.
But it's, the next couple of years are probably going to be needed for that.
Pretty skinny.
To have $40 million to park.
Yeah.
Well, our unassigned balance is pretty low, isn't it? Or
no, it's still we're still just above the 16.6%. So actually 25 is coming in a little better than what we thought. So
okay, because I think we had gotten down in the high 14s.
That's what we project for 2026. So we'll see how 26 goes. But 25, like I said, 25 is going to be a little better. So that helps where 26 starts. So
thank you.
Hopefully that's a trend going back up the other way.
We hope so. Thank you, Kevin.
if I may, with the library,
Mhm.
What are you looking forward with Civic Center redevelopment, which may or may not keep this building?
Sure.
Like, what are those options that are being explored? Or is that too far out, or is that rolled in? And then touching onto that, if a new facility would be created, is there any benefit to being collaborative with the Arapahoe library system, like Sheridan has?
Yeah, good question. So I'll address the last one first. So Arapahoe County told us no. We did ask. We did say, can we be part of your system? Sean Lewis, I don't know if Tim, who's on, no, he dropped off. They did talk to him about it just to see if there was an opportunity. And at that point, they were not interested. So it's not to say it's off the table. It's another conversation to have when it comes to that point. Internally, our library staff, we have a new library director, Rachel Fuel, who's great, and she worked at the Denver Central Library, so she really understands what libraries can be and how big they can be. We will never go that big, but we've been talking about what could happen. You know, Hampton Hall's here. We have the History Museum downstairs. Could that all be incorporated with the library? Maybe it's a 2-floor. Below is the Performance Center in Hampton Hall, or vice versa with the library above. And so we have been talking about that size-wise. I don't know what that should be yet. It'll depend on where it can be placed and what land exists and all of that. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of uncertainty, but I guarantee you, because I've heard it, the staff are definitely thinking about what a future library could be and what it could look like. And some of the pain points we have now with their current library, it's very big. And there's a lot of spots that are not visible when you walk around the library. So yeah, making a safe library that is, when you walk in, you can see everything when you walk in, so.
It's also kind of secluded from the external, being past the foyer and all that. Is the Civic Center redevelopment carving out specific space? Is that one of, because they're gonna have to have city hall.
There's been discussion. I haven't heard a lot about the library discussion part of the future Civic Center here. And talking to community members, library staff, it would probably be beneficial to move the library more into the city, into a neighborhood area near a school, somewhere like that, off the light rail. As nice as that's been, it's also brought some issues to our library. And so we think if we were to get out of the space, it could be a positive experience for the library.
Yeah, and I had heard a rumor about a second branch or a South Broadway branch.
So the South Broadway program has talked about, there was interest in possibly adding like a satellite location. That could, there are endless opportunities with that. It's right now just an idea, but it could be partnered with like a coffee shop, and maybe it's a smaller area that you can pick up your holds, or programs could be there, or maybe it's just a computer lab. So those were ideas that were discussed during the South Broadway initiative focus groups and some of the other events we did around that. So right now we are adding in little libraries to South Broadway, which are just the little libraries. So that's a plan for now, but yeah, moving forward, I mean, this is a long-term project. So we would love to have a second smaller location if that ever came about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. It's great seeing you guys. All right.
Let's move into Laura's email. I have it here if you want to read it, or if you want to read it. Well,
Yeah, I'm happy to
I
share.
think this was around the presentations, so we'll do that first, and just what we expect from these. So I'll let you go ahead.
Great, yeah. I had, as I've been reflecting, this is my second year, so second time going through these presentations, and I think a few pieces of information that would be personally valuable for me, that I would be curious if it would also be of interest to other committee members, is just some summary data that helps us kind of place what the budget that we're looking at within the greater context. So particular, the ones that jump to mind is being able to see this department budget versus prior year, or even maybe prior couple of years, instead of just like looking at it in a vacuum. And then additionally, I know that this gets a little funky because we have the enterprise funds versus the general funds, but seeing, I guess, what the department budget is as a share of the overall city budget. So we kind of have a kind of quick inbuilt sense of the scale of what we're talking about. And then I guess as we hear from Parks and Rec, I would potentially add to this something about revenues and the revenues that are
That's my thought.
brought in, because some don't and some do, and so that I think would be helpful. So that would be my proposal or desire to see on future presentations, and wanted to bring that to you all as an idea and to see what else. Yeah.
I really like the idea of revenues.
Yeah, and seeing everything in more of a financial statement look. And I think the pro rata or allocated portion to the total numbers would give us some figurative understanding.
Yeah, because I mean, with Park and Rec specifically, I'm really interested to learn. You know, they're not for profit, and so I wouldn't think we'd want them to generate enough revenue to go back into a fund. I would think they would run at a deficit intentionally to be a public city good. So making sure that those numbers don't get out of whack too terribly.
No, I see that. So how do we get there?
Doesn't seem like a very heavy lift.
It's, yeah, from staff perspective, it's not. We do all this. It's a format that you guys could use.
Is that
Just modifying-
something?
I'm sorry, just modifying that first slide that they pull up with the table. I think it's the first slide or second.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure, I've seen a lot of these, we did condense the presentation, and I think we've minimized sort of some of our time here, but do we have all of the same GL accounts for each department, or are there various ones? I imagine there are some variety across different
Probably
functions.
one thing we want to do is separate the general fund departments from the enterprise type funds, because they operate differently, just like you were talking about, recreation is never been city funded. So as I've said, some of our tax money should go to schools, just like this, they don't generate revenue, not intentionally. So, but I think that's the only really difference between the two types of funds, and that's easy enough to do. Some departments have both, but not too many.
Is that something, is this sort of financial statement summary something that would come from you or the departments?
We would work with the departments. They would give us, like those numbers you saw today, they're all estimates still. Not finished with 2025 yet, so we would work with them and put it into a format, more like what you would see in our annual financial report probably.
Yeah, and so prior year and budget comparison, right?
Yes.
Some variance. And a share of overall city budget. Any other metrics?
I'd like to better understand the first slide that they're using now and how that came about, and also the piece of budget savings projections that each department makes and how that plays into the mix.
Jenny, could you please pull up that slide that we're talking about? Or an example of one, there we go.
So, yeah, so this is a breakdown of our major categories of expenditures: personnel, commodities, contractual, if the fund has capital, and then debt service if they have debt service. So that's kind of the breakdown now. If you would like to see it, either in more detail or differently, it's easy for us to do. These are just groupings of expenditures.
And this includes both general and enterprise funds, both.
They both have a similar structure. Just like general fund, most of them don't have debt service and not much capital either.
So this is a general fund view?
This one here is, the last screen was, I think, the golf course, and it had.
Got it.
Yeah.
Enterprise
That's
fund.
debt service and capital. Very similar right now. We can certainly change these. Now, this encompasses an overall view of this. For this one, it's the golf course. So if we want a different breakdown, that's fine. We still want to make sure that we get all of the information for that bottom line there, the total.
I do like this. I find this helpful. Just, yeah.
It doesn't give you much of a perspective though.
Great.
I would almost prefer to add a slide, but.
Nevin seemed to very succinct.
Oh, whoever's online, go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think a year-to-year comparison in particular, I think I would find valuable. I think personally that I'd like to see it in the same table. I think that makes comparison a little bit easier. If uh, if not just like a bottom line figure, a column with change like year to year change would be fine as well, either of those. But I do think having some idea how it compares to the previous year's budget is helpful. While I retain like some idea of what we saw a year ago, it's not necessarily, you know, like a actual budget figure.
So can we agree on that a prior year, current year budget, actual spend, right? And then a variance to both budget and prior year? Does that get us where we want to go? Here for you, Laura.
Yes, if we can also add a line item for revenue.
And revenue as well on the
Yeah.
top. And then I guess that would get us down to a total net number.
Well, and isn't actual spend already up there under amount utilized?
Current year, yes. Shows prior year.
Yes.
And then a total allocation of either the enterprise or the general fund for, well, I guess both the revenue and the expense categories as a whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could do it by GL too, but what do you think, Laura?
I prefer to see it probably as a whole.
Okay.
Maybe just personal opinion, but I think ultimately the goal is just to anchor it in terms of, are we talking about half the city's budget? Right. Are we talking about something that barely moves the needle?
But I think we want to show the detailed breakout with the roll-ups for all the other departments. And then just a detailed breakout for that department so that essentially we can see the entire fund revenue expenditures with a detailed outlook on the department by department that we're looking at, but with the totals for each department summarized as well. Right? Because that would give us a full operating view.
Yeah.
That's how I'm envisioning it. Kevin, can we do that, and how can we help, and do we need to provide some?
So I'm envisioning that the percent of total budget would be another slide, maybe a pie chart even or something like that. Does that give you enough information if it's just a pie chart? Total budget is, for golf course, is $3,500,000. That's 10% of the enterprise fund budgets.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think that gives us. Okay.
If they can have percentage call outs, I appreciate that. That's great.
Same with the general fund, it would just be one fund, all the departments.
I appreciate that.
And then I guess we look at capital separately. So I mean, this is really our only glimpse of operating funds, correct? Which I think one of the things that's laid out in our charter is for this committee to also review the operating budget. And I would assume, and I'll look at the language for next meeting, but that would infer performance as well against it. So I think that's something that we want to begin working into this year to have a look at and say, hey, why are we spending so much on X or Y? Or why is sales and use tax revenue down by 8%? And so that we can kind of have a high level input or advisory role like we're called to do. Because in my experience, this committee hasn't done that in the last 4 years. So I think that should be a goal of ours this year, unless someone disagrees. Okay, so I think that's going to be, we'll start on that. I mean, we have the capital improvement projects next, right? Let me look at the calendar here. Bear with me. Next month is municipal court, South Platte Renew Utilities. Operating budget discussion we have penned for April 2nd. And then capital request April 13th. So we have 2 meetings in April. Okay. Anything else on this, on the finance?
That's it for me. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Okay, I guess, can I go back to the question around the budget savings challenge? And can you just kind of break that down for me? And I think part of why I'm asking is that we saw last month with the presentation with IT, there was a lot of vacancy savings, yet at the same time as there were statements about not having enough funds to do cybersecurity well. And so I'm just wondering how that challenge plays into that mix, and are we taking things too literally and not being nimble within our budgets to do the core pieces that we need to be doing well?
Yeah, that's a great question. We base that on a 5-year average of that last column in the thing of how much you return to fund balance. If you're way under budget consistently, we don't want you budgeting like that going forward, because you're taking up resources that could be, council could place somewhere else. That's the whole point of it. Yes, it could be a scenario where we would put that in place, but since it's over a 5-year period, maybe IT does need a cybersecurity, but they didn't last year and they didn't budget for it last year. So it's going to skew it a little bit. So, and you'll see when we come back to council at the end of the year for the last supplemental, there will be discussions about that, about budget savings. Couldn't be because this, we did this, we added this position. And it would have been something that we've already talked to council about at that point. It's just a tool. It's not always right, though.
Yeah.
I
think it's a worthy tool, and I also think, you know, if we're not doing core things that are super important really well, then, you know, are we proactively having the conversations that need to be had to say, hey, let's not, you know, focus on the savings as much, and let's.
Yeah, no, exactly, and we don't want that to ever hinder operations, proper operations of the city.
Thank you.
Can you remind us of the calendar and where we are in terms of starting and executing the next budget, and also the review of 25, when that'll be final and when we have that information?
Jenny, you want to take out? Calendar, new. So this will be next year's budget that we start. Calendar is similar each year. Dates change a little bit, but the steps are the same.
Okay. Can we just get a copy of that, even just that page maybe, or maybe it's the slide, but the slideshow, but just at least that page, Jenny. Thank you. Okay, we don't have many minutes left. You know, I spent some time today on the reserve policy, and unless somebody made any changes after about 3:45, did anybody make any changes after 3:45? Okay, we're pretty dang close, and I mean, this is the gift that never goes away, but we're going to get it away. I would like, it needs a little bit of editing still. And I did notice that one of the local factors that I quoted, for instance, has not published an update in the last several months. So I may have to find another source for that. I did update some of the other ones at the state and federal level. The sales and use tax, Nevin, I noticed that you did put in quite a bit of work there.
Nevin does have his hand raised.
Oh, Nevin, go ahead.
You made a lot of changes, is that true?
Yeah, I just want to say I did make some pretty significant changes to both the sales and use tax and to the debt service sections.
Great.
After that, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just was trying to answer your previous question.
No problem. I did see, and I guess I'll have to look at the budget calendar a little more closely, the expenditure revenue ratio. Looks like we had through September, so I guess the year-end metrics will be available next month or two.
We'll give a preliminary of 2025 presentation probably in March. Might be April, but probably we'll shooting for March. It can still change because we're not finished with the audit at that point, but it should be very close.
Okay. So I think for point of the issue brief, we can still submit this to City Council. I'm sure they're going to have a lot of things to say and questions and all sorts of stuff that will come back to us that may take a month or two. So we'll just use the preliminary numbers for now. So just to rehash real quickly. Trigger 1, greater local, state, national economic factors. I'd say it's pending. I'll adjust the local factor. Trigger 2, city sales and use tax revenue. Nevin, I'll look at what you added today. I was pretty dang close. Trigger 3, city of Inglewood's expenditure to revenue ratio, I think was completed. Trigger 4, city of Inglewood's unassigned fund balance over the capital budget looked to be complete. Trigger 5, sales and use tax reliance. That one needed, I think that one was pretty close to complete. Nevin, I'll look at what you updated. Trigger 6, city of Inglewood's debt service. Nevin, I'll look at what you added. And then 7, legislative or regulatory changes look to be complete. And then the summary was complete. So do we want to get this out between now and March 1st? And it would be a draft, or I would issue brief, I guess it would be, I don't know if we can add draft to that, but we would be sending it to City Council for their review.
Are you coming to talk to us about it and present it, or you're,
Yes.
I would like that.
Okay, great.
I mean, I am learning so much more about the budget just from the 2 meetings that I've sat in on. There's a lot to get your head around. So I would imagine for those that have never had the pleasure of sitting in this room in this discussion, it would be very helpful to have the group talk through it. And also then talk about its use moving forward. So not only looking at it as something that we're approving or not approving, but how are we going to use this tool and at what level do we want BAC involved in the use of that tool?
All right. Jenny, what is our best way of reserving some time at a city council meeting, and what do we need to do that, I'd say, in the next 2 months?
We can put that on their agenda, and when the mayor meets with the city manager's office weekly, they'll let us know if they need to bump us, or we can stay, as scheduled. But it's going to be a study session, so they have time set aside weekly for study session. However, on the first Monday and the third Monday of each month, study session topics are limited to an hour. The second Monday and the fourth Monday of the month, it's dedicated just for study session items.
Say those days again. I'm sorry.
So first and third Monday of a month, you're limited to 1 hour of study session topics.
Okay.
And then the second Monday and fourth Monday of a month, the whole time is dedicated to study session. So no time limit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, who wants to come to another meeting? Thank you, Andrew.
If I may, I would recommend that before we present it, and we have to get all the content in before we do this, but we need an executive summary and to sequence this a bit in terms of how much technical depth we're presenting,
Okay.
at least initially, so that
Okay.
those who want to go further can, and those who need some top lines have an accessible way to get into it. And I think by saying that, maybe I'm volunteering to do that. I don't know.
I mean, you are quite an expert at many things, so.
I am, with a deadline, I'm happy to work on that unless someone else is interested.
I'm happy to help.
Great. Looks
Nevin?
like Nevin.
Yeah, I think like leading up to that, you know, it would be appreciated if and I know I've been fairly last second with a lot of my edits over the past couple months or past couple meetings, but it would be greatly appreciated if folks do get the chance to just write in any comments as soon as possible, and recommend any language updates or questions that committee members have, so that we can get those adjusted as soon as possible. And I'd love to see everybody's input, and you know, I know this has been a while in the making, but I'd love to see any feedback that we're able to get, so that we maximize the impact of this reporting.
Okay. So we have 1 minute. What does that mean? And what time frame should we expect of ourselves? I mean, this has been a long project, so some of me says, yeah, it's about time we get it done, but I also hear you, and I hear you, Nevin, and I know that we care about how we present this, and it should be, to me, as simple as we can make it, but also like have some Q&A and some understanding of what the goal is and how this helps us have an objective rating for city council deciding on whether they want to make a change to the current reserve. And I think an hour study session will be enough time. I know there's a lot of questions, I know, but you know, we try to stick to our time here, and so we'll.
I would almost lean toward the longer
Okay,
session.
so.
Just because
Okay.
if there are Q&A, I mean, if you don't use the full time, so be it. But I think it's a very important tool that you're bringing forward. And I would imagine that there will be some conversation about its usage and the cadence of that. And like you said, what is the stated goal of this? Let's not have all of this work be done for naught. So let's use it and use it well, if it's, you know, something that the whole of council is interested in doing. So better to just have more time available if you don't need it.
So Jenny, we'd want one of the longer sessions. So I think the only thing we need to just decide now is what's our capability and time frame to get to where we can send the issue brief and then book a study session. I think until we send it, we're not going to book a study session. Do we want to carve out time next month? Do we want to work on it between now and next month?
Yes.
Yes, what, both?
I want to work on it between now and next month.
Okay. So you want to work on it before our meeting next month?
Yes.
Do you want to send it before our meeting next month? Probably. I love it.
I'm ready.
I can tell, me too. Can we get some agreement to send it between now and March 5th? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nevin?
Yeah, I'm I'm open to sending it. I'm open to sending it before then. For me, it really just depends how much review time, whether everybody's able to actually get eyes on it, which, God willing, everyone will be able to. As long as everybody's able to get eyes on it and suggest edits before that, then that feels fine by me.
So what's realistic? In 2 weeks, have an email that goes out and say, hey, you got 2 days left. And then on the next Monday, we agree to send it to Jenny and have it forwarded to city council. At that point, we wait a week or two and then they let us know when they want to talk about it.
I'm on the schedule.
I know, but does that sound reasonable?
We'll have.
You're a highest man.
When you're close to being ready, we'll find it.
Okay, so I don't think we need to worry about that. We just need to get it done.
Great.
So between now and March 5th, which is a is that right? Yeah, Thursday. Exactly 30 days.
Great.
Can we pick a date? And we'll send an email.
Yeah.
And people mark your calendars and just do it before the end
I
of
work
that
well
day.
to deadlines.
Do we like a Friday or do we like a Monday? So a Sunday night? Can we do a Sunday night?
Yes, I can. I don't know.
That works for me.
Okay, what's Sunday night? Let me get my calendar here. And we're about to end this meeting.
The Broncos are done. Sunday's back in play.
Yeah, right, you're free now, right?
No, that's just still here.
I mean,
I'm with you, brother.
we can wait 1, 2, 3 weeks, which would be March the 1st.
That's great.
Well, let's do March the 1st. Okay, March the 1st will be midnight Sunday, March the 1st, and then that Monday, Jenny and I will connect and just confirm that we've completed the initial issue brief for submission to City Council, and then we'll go from there. Okay? And
Chair Eckel, do we want to include that draft issue brief on the March 5th agenda so that we can review it one last time? Or on March 1st, you're wanting me to go ahead and schedule the next study session availability?
I think we're done with it on March 1st.
Okay, so you don't want to review it as a group. We'll have the executive summary and the draft issue brief ready to go on March 1st?
Yes.
Okay. And then at that point, I can look on the calendar and see, if there's availability in March or April on a study session, and I'll report back.
Wonderful. And I don't think that's necessarily a rush, but we'll commit to have it on March 1st, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome. No problem.
Okay, member's choice. And this meeting is adjourned.
No, sorry.
We need that part.
You went over by 7 minutes.
I hate
Those
going
poll
over.
numbers dropping.
I really hate that.
We started